All right, guys, we're going to solve this function for the zeros. I know the directions don't say that because I didn't copy the directions over, and I'm sorry, but yeah. So we're going to find the zeros of this polynomial. It's a fourth degree polynomial, and quite frankly, the very first thing that you are going to do is you're going to grab your calculator, you're going to go to y equals, and you are going to plug that bad boy in there. Okay, so 5x to the fourth minus 29x squared plus 36. Plug it in there. See if you get any zeros off the graph. Now, you can get them off the graph, but don't forget, you can also do second graph. So hit the second button and then the graph button. It'll bring up your table. And from your table, when x equals 2, there we go, and when x equals -2, your y is a 0. So your function is crossing the x-axis at 2 and -2. And it is actually crossing at two other spots as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. So all you have to do is get your as many zeros as you can off the calculator, and then you're going to use synthetic division. So I'm going to start with the positive 2 first, and remember, you are going to go ahead and say, all right, 5, I don't know why there we go, 5x to the fourth, you have 0x cubed minus 29x squared plus 0x plus 36. Don't forget your placeholders. You absolutely have to have that. Remember when you were doing synthetic division, this number, no matter what it is, always just comes straight down here. So you got a 5, sorry, selecting pens. So you got a 5 there. You always 2 times this number, so you're always diagonally, you are multiplying to get your answer right there, and then you're going to add down your columns. So 2 times 5 is 10. I add down my columns, I get a 10. 2 times 10 is a 20. I add down my columns, I get a -9. That's a 9. 2 times a -9 is a -18. I add down my columns, I get a -18. And then 2 times a -18 is a -36. And I get a 0 here, which is exactly what I wanted because 2 is supposed to be a 0. Then I'm going to switch colors so we can kind of finish this problem up. You're going to divide again. Use synthetic division. Divide again, okay? Because you know you had the second one you came off of the calculator. And so what you're going to do is, again, just bring this number here straight down. It's a 5. It just happens, it will be the same number both times. So -2 times a 5 is a -10. You get a 0 there. -2 times 0 is 0. Bring that, add those two numbers together, you get a -9. -2 times a -9 is a +18. You get a 0 there, which is exactly what you wanted. So you got to remember that this, I didn't realize I was in the highlighter, but that's x to the fourth. This is x to the third, and so that means that this row is going to be x squared. So you have a 5x squared plus a 0x, because, I mean, this right here is technically 0x right there, but you don't have to write it, and then -9 equals a 0. So you are actually going to then solve that quadratic, because you found, come on now. Sometimes all of this stuff is all in part of a group and it does a nice job of fitting all together, and sometimes it doesn't. Oh my goodness, there we go. All right, so now you're going to take and solve this quadratic right here. All right, so then you're just going to do 5x squared minus 9 equals a 0. Add 9 to both sides, so you get 5x squared equals a 9. Divide both sides by 5, so you get x squared equals 9 over 5. Now, you are going to, and hopefully this will, now it's just, okay. You know what? Forget you explain everything. Sometimes you're such a dork. You're going to take that. That's really bothering me. Sorry. I know, you're like, Miss P, please just stop playing with this thing. It's just driving us nuts. I'm sorry. All right, so then you're going to take the square root of both sides. Okay. Here. And so when you do this, this is what it's going to look like. Remember, when you're taking the square root of a fraction, first of all, it has to be positive, negative, right? Okay, because you're taking the square root of something. You are actually taking the square root of the top, the numerator, divided by the square root of the denominator. Well, the square root of the numerator is a 3, so you have a 3 over a radical 5. You absolutely have to rationalize that, so multiply both sides by radical 5, right? And so what ends up happening is in the numerator, and I'm going to go way up here, you get a 3 radical 5, and in the denominator, radical 5 times radical 5 is radical 25, square root of 5 is 25. Remember, that is positive and negative. So you have now, hold on, whoop, 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 want to go to another color. There we go, give me purple. All right, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 answers. Those are your 4 answers for your 4th degree polynomial.